Restoration drama. The Restoration period, spanning from 1660 to around 1710 during Queen Anne's reign, marked the revival of English, Scottish, and Irish monarchies under King Charles II. This era held particular significance for the world of drama. The reopening of theatres in 1660 after an 18-year closure during the Puritan rule ushered in a new era of performance. One notable change during this period was the inclusion of women in English stage productions. Restoration plays, in defiance of puritanical constraints, pushed boundaries with opulent designs and daring humor. This cultural shift in drama signaled a departure from the restrictions of the past. Restoration comedy, also known as English comedy of manners, refers to the comedic plays written and performed during the Restoration period, spanning from 1660 to 1710. The Restoration comedies attracted a socially diverse audience, including aristocrats, their servants, hangers on, and a substantial middle class segment. These audiences were drawn to the comedies due to their topical and contemporary themes, intricate and bustling plots, the introduction of the first professional actresses, and the emergence of the first celebrity actors. Notably, this period witnessed the emergence of Afra Ben, the first professional female playwright. The War of the Theatres, which took place between 1695 and 1700, was a pivotal moment in this theatrical landscape. The company owners, believing they could impose arbitrary conditions on their actors, faced resistance from performers like the renowned Thomas Betterton, the tragedian Elizabeth Barry, and the rising young comedian Anne Brace Girdle. The actors secured a royal license to perform, bypassing the monopoly held by their employers and forming their cooperative company. This cooperative venture was founded with clear rules to prevent unchecked managerial authority, regulate actor shares, determine the conditions for salaried employees, and establish provisions for sickness and retirement benefits. In 1695, this cooperative company premiered William Congreve's celebrated play Love for Love, which became a massive box office success. The emergence of two competing theatre companies in London briefly revitalized Restoration drama. However, this competition also led to a decline in theatrical standards as both companies resorted to appealing to the lowest common denominator of public taste. One company, under Rich's ownership, offered attractions reminiscent of Bartholomew Fair, including high kickers, jugglers, rope dancers, and performing animals. The cooperative actors, while positioning themselves as the sole legitimate theatre company in London, engaged in retaliatory tactics such as prologues recited by boys of five and epilogues declaimed by ladies on horseback. This rivalry had a profound impact on the direction of Restoration drama during this period. William Congreve. William Congreve was a renowned English dramatist who left an indelible mark on the comedy of manners genre. His significant contributions to the Restoration period include The Old Bachelor, The Double Dealer, Love for Love, and The Way of the World. Congreve's literary career was characterized by his mastery of comic dialogue, satirical portrayal of gender conflicts, and astute examination of the affectations prevalent in his era. These qualities solidified his reputation as a prominent playwright of his time. His debut play, The Old Bachelor, emerged while he was convalescing and became a major success in 1693. The play, showcasing his talent for witty dialogue, ran for 2 weeks at the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane. It received acclaim from his mentor, John Dryden, who hailed it as a brilliant debut. Following his initial success, Congreve produced The Double Dealer, though it did not achieve the same level of popularity as his first work. By the age of 30, he had written 4 comedies, including Love for Love, which premiered at the Lincoln's Inn Theatre in April 1695. Although it didn't surpass the acclaim of his debut, it was well received. Congreve's magnum opus, The Way of the World, made its debut in March 1700. While it initially faced challenges during its production, it is now considered one of his masterpieces and continues to be revived in modern times. Notably, Congreve also ventured into tragedy with The Mourning Bride, which enjoyed immense popularity in its time but is currently less esteemed among his works. After the success of Love for Love, Congreve became one of the managers at Lincoln's Inn Fields in 1695. During this period, he occasionally wrote public verse and held a commissioner position for licensing hackney coaches. Congreve's career as a playwright was relatively short lived, spanning from 1693 to 1700. The changing tastes of the public, shifting away from highbrow sexual comedy of manners, played a role in this brevity. Concerns about the morality of his theatrical comedies also contributed, especially after Jeremy Collier's critique in A Short View of the Immorality and Profaneness of the English Stage. Despite leaving the stage, Congreve continued to engage in literary pursuits. He wrote librettos for operas and translated the works of Molière. His association with the Whig Kit Kat Club transitioned him into the political sphere, leading to a political appointment in Jamaica in 1714 by George I. In Jamaica, Congreve's writing evolved and he turned to poetry, translating the works of prominent poets such as Homer, Juvenal, Ovid, and Horace. William Congreve's legacy endures through his influential contributions to Restoration comedy and his enduring impact on English literature. The Way of the World. The Way of the World is a renowned Restoration comedy authored by the English playwright William Congreve. This play made its debut in early March 1700 at the theatre in Lincoln's Inn Fields, London, and it holds a distinguished place as one of the finest examples of the Restoration comedy genre, occasionally gracing contemporary stages. However, upon its initial release, the play was met with mixed reviews and controversy, as it was perceived by some as perpetuating the immorality of previous decades. At the heart of the play are two central characters, Mirabell and Millamant. Mirabell, in order to secure his union with Millamant and claim her substantial dowry, must obtain the blessing of Millamant's aunt, Lady Wishfort. Lady Wishfort, a bitter and resentful woman, vehemently opposes Mirabell and favors the marriage of her nephew, Sir Wilful, to Millamant. This sets the stage for a complex web of romantic entanglements and intrigues. Adding to the complexity of the plot is the character of Fainall, who engages in a secretive affair with Mrs. Marwood, a close friend of Fainall's wife. Mrs. Fainall, Lady Wishfort's daughter, shares a history with Mirabell, and despite their past involvement, they maintain a friendship. Additionally, Mirabell's servant Waiteville is married to Foible, Lady Wishfort's servant. Waiteville plays a crucial role in Mirabell's scheme as he impersonates Sir Rowland, Mirabell's fictional uncle, in an attempt to deceive Lady Wishfort into a false engagement. The play unfolds in a series of acts. Act 1 is set in a chocolate house where Mirabell and Fainall discuss Mirabell's love for Millamant. They learn that if Lady Wishfort were to marry, Mirabell would lose £6,000 of Millamant's inheritance, which he can only secure with Lady Wishfort's consent to their marriage. Act 2 takes place in St. James Park, where Mrs. Fainall and Mrs. Marwood express their disdain for men. Fainall accuses Mrs. Marwood of secretly loving Mirabell. Meanwhile, Mrs. Fainall confides in Mirabell about her unhappy marriage, and they conspire to deceive Lady Wishfort into granting her consent for their marriage. Acts 3, 4, and 5 unfold in Lady Wishfort's home, introducing the audience to Lady Wishfort's elaborate plans. Lady Wishfort seeks to marry the supposed Sir Rowland, Mirabell's fictitious uncle, with the intention of thwarting Mirabell's inheritance. However, the real Sir Rowland is Waiteville in disguise. The scheme is designed to entangle Lady Wishfort in a marriage that cannot proceed due to bigamy, thus forcing her to rely on Mirabell's assistance, contingent on her approval of his marriage to Millamant. As the plot unfolds, Mrs. Marwood overhears the scheme and shares it with Fainall. Fainall decides to take his wife's money and elope with Mrs. Marwood. Meanwhile, Mirabell and Millamant, both strong-willed characters, engage in a pivotal discussion known as the proviso scene, revealing the depth of their feelings for each other. Eventually, Mirabell proposes to Millamant, who accepts with Mrs. Fainall's encouragement. In Act 5, Lady Wishfort discovers the plot and Fainall has Waiteville arrested. Fainall also unveils Mrs. Fainall's previous affair with Mirabell. Fainall's attempted blackmail of Lady Wishford unravels when Mirabell presents a contract from before Mrs. Fainall's marriage, revealing that she entrusted her property to him. This nullifies Fainall's threats. Mirabell then restores Mrs. Fainall's property to her and secures his marriage to Millamant with her full £12,000 inheritance. The Way of the World is a comedic masterpiece that delves into themes of love, deception, and social maneuvering, showcasing William Congreve's talent for sharp wit and intricate plotting.